Hi everyone. So in this session, we will try to work on GitHub, how to set up a repository and how to clone the repository in the local system, how to push the code from local system to the GitHub repository. The prerequisite for this session would be that Git Bash software should be installed and GitHub account is created already. There are some previous videos on these, so you can refer to them and then make sure that you're coming to this session after completing these two steps. Okay, so we'll try to do two things. First, we'll try to clone existing GitHub repo to local, and then on the same code we will modify and push it back to the existing GitHub repository. This will be the first thing that we'll be trying. And the second thing that we want to try is creating a new GitHub repository and doing same stuff. Only in this case, we don't have to clone anything because we're not cloning any existing GitHub repo. We are creating a new GitHub repo, and maybe we have to push the code from the local to this existing or the newly created GitHub repository. Okay. And maybe pushing the code first time from local to this newly created GitHub repository. Okay, so let's try to do the cloning first. So we have to log into our GitHub account, and I'm already having existing repository. So for example, this is a kind of a demo purpose repository. So for example, if I want to download this or clone this basically, so what I can do is I can go to code and I can copy this URL basically, HTTPS URL, and then what I can do is I can come back here. I can open Git Bash here, okay, because that is installed in my system, and then try to do a git clone and paste the link with .git, okay, and then let's try to do cloning into basic QA test. So this will be cloned, guys. Okay, so this is cloned. This is existing code that was there in the global repository, in the GitHub repository online. Now I have copied it in my system. This is the whole code, and this hidden file .git also will be automatically created. So this will be able to track the status of this folder or this project folder in our local system. Okay, so if you don't see this .git, that means you have to view it, or you have to make your hidden items as checked, and then only you'll be able to see this .git file. This has to be there if you have cloned this file, if you're cloning the existing repository. So this has to be there. Maybe I want to do something. Maybe I want to modify something to because I want to push back the things. Maybe I want to just modify some of the stuff here. Okay, not doing anything much, and maybe in the test cases I can add some files. Okay, maybe I can add one more file here, and this would be my tc 05 login test. Okay, this is the new file that I've added, and now the thing is I want to push the changes to this basically. So I want to push the changes to the repository back. Okay, whatever change I have. Right now I'm having the changes in my local. I want to showcase it in the globally. It should be accessible to everyone globally, whoever is having the access to this get this GitHub. Basically, if you're working in a team, right, if you're working in a team, so then it will be very important. Also, your decision also require, you don't need to have a decision, like you want to push directly to master, or you want to create your own branch. Okay, you want to create your own branch to push the changes in the branch, not in the master directly. Master is something that everyone uses. That is a code that is kind of should be always working, and should be shared and taken as guaranteed. So mostly what will happen is, normally you'll be pushing it to your branch first, and then somebody need to verify it, review it, and if they find that everything is working fine and everything you have worked in that is correct, proper, then they'll be pushing it to the master, because they don't want to mess up the master. They don't want to compromise the master branch. Okay, so maybe what we can do is we can create a branch automatically. We'll be able to create a branch and we'll push the changes there, and then maybe we can we can push it to the master finally. Yeah. So what we can do is, in the project itself, in the project folder itself, I can open, and wherever I get this, find this .git folder, hidden folder, I should be able to open this git bash. And the thing is, right now it is referring to the master, and I want to create a branch. Basically, I want to push it into some branch. So I need to create a branch, git branch. I can say like my new branch. Okay, and then I can say like git checkout my new branch. So you will see the change after doing this checkout. So you'll see like now it is no more pointing to the master, it is pointing to the my new branch. Okay, so you'll be sure like whatever I'll be doing after this should be reflecting on the my new branch. Not initially, it will not be going into this. So for example, if you try to refresh it, you'll not be able to see anything because you have not committed the things. Okay, if you go to view all branches, so it is still showing some older older notification. So still not visible on the global side, because you haven't committed your code, or pushed your code basically. So first of all, I want to check the status of this. I know like I've modified one file and I have also added one new file. Okay, so these are not tracked actually. They are as per the global. If they match, if they compare with the global GitHub repository, these two files are different compared in the local basically. So what I want to do is I want to add all these files, and then I want to again check the status to just see like if things have been taken care or not, means the untracked files has been added or not to the remote right now. Okay, just we are working on the remote as of now. Nothing will be shown on the GitHub online on the website, on the online repository. So we haven't, because we haven't committed and pushed the code yet. Now the next thing will be the commit part. We have to do a commit. We have to commit our code, and we have to put a message here, pushing the code with the new test case. I've added new test case. I'm just giving us a relevant message here. And now I want to push this. Git push -u origin. Now I won't be pushing it to the master. I want to push it to the my new branch. Okay, my new branch. Let's see. Okay, there is an issue here. It is saying like unable to access this. Now the problem is, yeah. So it is actually because I'm working in multiple accounts. So that is one problem. There are multiple GitHub accounts that I'm using. So what I'm doing, what I will do is I have to actually remove that. Maybe you don't have to do this thing, but if you're working with GitHub accounts you have created with multiple email IDs, so maybe then you'll be facing some issue like this. I am mostly working in in a different account, in a different GitHub account, which is BZQA automation. So I need to, it is by default taking the same account, permission and everything. Password is taken like that. But the problem is this account is different. The password is different. Everything is different. The user is different. So it is not able to recognize this BusyQA automation username. Okay. So that is a problem. That's why the permission issue is there. I will only remove it. And what will happen is Windows will, forget about this BusyQA automation, the other account, and it will try to ask my credentials. Git push -u, and this is only in case you're working on the same local system, your same system you're using. The same system you're using with this multiple email accounts, okay, multiple email IDs. Git push -u origin. So this time, hopefully it should be asking me, because it doesn't know the credentials. Local system doesn't know the credential of this this account because in the credential manager that is not stored, actually that is not saved. I was having a different email, so it should be asking me the password basically. Yeah, so now if you say it is asking you to sign in through the correct username, basically correct username. So it is asking me the personal access token. So this one is very simple actually. Personal access token is easier than creating a SSH key. So if you have seen a video where you were trying to create SSH key, there's an alternative that you don't have to go through the pain of creating SSH key. What you can do is you can very easily create a personal access token for your GitHub repository account. Okay. And then even you can go and sign in with your browser also. That is also very easy. But I will let you know, because previously you would have seen in the video, in other video about SSH keys. But you can, maybe you can, because for that you have to download PuttyGen, a lot of softwares, and then you have to create a private key and everything. So better than that, actually, this personal access token is very easy to maintain, very easy to create actually. And you just have to, create it and you have to save it somewhere, so that next time or later, if you want to use it, you can use it directly. Okay, so we'll let you know. We'll come back to this one in a bit. We'll go back to our our GitHub account, and we have to go to the settings, and we are going to create our personal access token actually for this account. So here, this is my profile, and if you see here, there is a developer settings. So we have to go here, and here if you see, there is a personal access token. This is the place where we will be able to create a personal access token. So we have to generate a new token, and if you click on the generate new token, I can give like a BusyQA account, BusyQA1. Okay, this is my basically, and I can say token, just giving a name, it's a user defined name, and let me have it like no expiration. It's fine. Also, I have to select the scope of what I will be able to do actually with this personal access token, what all things I will be able to do. So I better be able to, do everything with the repo, able to get the status, everything. And I should also be able to, or to do this, create gist actually. And there's one more thing that we need to do is let's take the admin part also, like the writing and reading also is better, because we should be able to do the pushing of the code basically. That should should not create any issue. So these three things I'm doing the repo, I'm checking the repo thing. I want to get access to the repo. I want to act like an admin, able to read and write the things, full control of the organization and teams. And just I'm just taking it like this. Maybe we don't have any any purpose of this, but let's add it. Maybe later we'll be able to use it somewhere. So let me generate a token. I better copy this. Okay, this is a copy way. Just want to copy this. Just want to save it somewhere in the notepad. Let me just save it here. Personal access token. Okay, so let me save it here. And the problem, the thing is why we are saving it, because we will not be able to see it later. Okay, guys. If we come back to this personal access token later in the future, we'll not be able to see this key basically. Okay, for example, if I go back now, you see BusyKeyword token. It is just giving the name only. And if I go inside this, I will not be able to find it anywhere, guys. Okay, not be able to find it anywhere. I have to regenerate the token again, and then again new token only will I need to use, and then again and again I have to just regenerate the tokens. It's better I create once only one time only I create a token and I use it. Okay, so I'm just copying this, and this is the one that I have to use, guys. Okay, you can also do this, guys. So this is more easier actually. You just go and sign in with the browser. You can do this very easily, right? Like the same way like how you log in into the online in the website or the GitHub. But it's good to understand about SSH keys and also the personal access token. So any one of them you can use. So now you can see it has started adding the things. New branch has been set up as a remote branch. And now when you have pushed the things, then only it will be able to show you what has happened. Yes, it will be able to show you globally, basically. You go to repository, BusyKeyword test. So if I refresh this, even it is showing you this notification, guys. Okay, my new branch had recent pushes less than a minute. So now if you see, you will be able to see the new branch, which is my new branch. Okay, if I go to my new branch, I'll be able to see my changes. Okay, I'll be able to see the changes in my SRC test. So you see here, I will be able to have a login test 05 TC05. So this is a new change 8 minutes ago only I have done. And if you try to go to master, okay, if you try to go to master, you'll see there's only 4 things only here, guys. There's no other, only 4 things, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's no 5th test case that we have added. So it is master. Master has not been changed actually. With the changes that we have done, we have the push that we have done basically. Okay. So we go to our repository, BusyKeyword test repository, and now the thing is, it will ask you to do a pull request. This is completely whole different process. Mostly when you're working in a team with a team lead, you'll once you have pushed the code into the branch, you'll go into the compare and pull request. Okay, and it will let you know like you are able to merge or not. Sometimes there will be merge conflicts will be coming to picture. Then this will not be there. You will not be able to merge those things. You have to first resolve the conflicts. Mostly it is part of or the burden of the responsibility of the lead who will be doing the final merge, who will be doing the final merge from the branch to the master branch. Okay. So as a person who is responsible for like as a QA or as a developer, whoever I am responsible for my changes in my local, and I push that in my branch. Now that branch I have to create for that branch. I want that branch, the final destination of that branch code that I newly added, need to go into the master, guys. That is the final destination of the changes. So this is what I want to do, but I cannot do it directly as a, if I'm not a lead, if I'm not a responsible person responsible for the this thing for the team, for the project, then I have to create a request to the lead, actually to the person who will be actually reviewing it. Okay, who will be reviewing it, and he will be the person, she will be the person who will be able to merge it into the master after reviewing it, after seeing, maybe they will be downloading it to their local, like cloning again, like how we clone master branch. They'll be cloning our my new branch, and they will be running it in their, maybe in their IDE, and then they see like if this is working properly, then they will be approving your request. Okay, so if I do a so I'm just saying like added one test case, please review and let me know. Okay, so if I create a pull request, now it is also called as a PR, pull request or PR mostly. Okay, so this is the one that I have just added. So I'm the same person who is actually have added who cloned the master branch, who made changes in the local and then pushed the local changes to the branch, not the master branch, but my own branch. It is also, you can call it as a feature branch. It is also called as a feature branch. That is my feature branch where I have, and here you can see there are 2 files changed. So if somebody want to review it, for example, if I am the person who want to review it, I will go to this file chain and I will try to see like what has been done. So if you see something like red, that means this has been deleted. It was there in the master branch earlier. Right now also it is there, and this is the new change that will be happening. So there is a minus sign and there is a red, a little bit of red, red highlighted area. That means it has been deleted. These files, these lines in the file has been deleted. there is some maybe plus sign. Plus sign means there has been some addition. So maybe by mistake we gave some space. That is fine. Okay, and then this is completely new file, guys. TC05 login test that we created was a completely new file. So you can see everything is plus plus only here, and everything is green. Green means there is a new addition. Addition basically. This is deletion, and green highlighter is your addition. So here only as a reviewer, I will be getting this review changes thing. So I might put a comment like, or maybe I can request changes, like I give them the rework. I can assign it back to the person who has created this PR, whose branch has got these new changes, or I can approve. So right now I'm just approving it. Okay, I cannot approve it actually. Okay, this is a problem. Okay, I cannot approve my own pull request. So what I can do is I can keep it like this only, not a problem. So what will happen is the person will be able to check this radio button and submit this review, approve this review, and then what will happen is they will be able to merge also. Okay, later once it is separate process actually. So PR approval is one thing, and then merging it also is responsibility of the same person who has done the approval. Or it can also sometimes go back to the person. So person has got the approval, so now he is he will be able to, if he has access or she has access, he will they will be able to merge it basically. Okay, they will be able to merge it. So right now, because we are not able to approve it, so that's fine. We are not able to approve it. If it would have been approved, then there would have been a merge option also. So we would have merged this to the master. Okay, because if you see, the initial PR was created to wants to merge one commit into master from this branch. So when somebody says like I'm approving it, that means they're approving the person to do this thing, merge the one commit into master from the my new branch. That is the thing. So there will be a merge option also. Right now I'm not able to show you that, but that is very there's easy process. Once it is approved, you'll be able to get the merge option. You can do the merge, but approval you need to get from the authorized person, and then you'll able to do the merge finally to the master. And then the same change that you have in my new branch will be in your master branch also, guys. Okay, so this was about the first process, which was clone an existing GitHub repo to local, and then on the same code we will modify and push it back to the existing GitHub repository. We also created PR, okay, pull request. We were not able to approve it, so we're not able to merge it. But the next things were to approve it and merge it finally to master. Okay, that is the final destination for the new code. The next thing we'll try to do is we create a new GitHub repository and push the code first time from local to this newly created GitHub repository. Okay, this is something we'll do. Maybe in the future we'll not be able to use this access token, because now if you go to your credential manager, you're able to see like it will store the information actually. So you see here I've deleted earlier, but now you see Simran BZQA1. So this is this user actually, this account user. Earlier it was a different account user, so that was having a different authorization, different permission, different password, and now this one is a different thing. So if I don't remove this information, which is kind of a cache, you can say it is kind of a cache in the memory of my local system, so it will not ask me again, it will not prompt me while pushing the code again to the same repository. It will not ask me to input this basically. But if I remove that, if I delete that from the memory, from the cache, then it will be the same thing. Then we'll again have to do we have to maybe do a personal access token, or maybe we can also sign in the GitHub browser, the second option that was there. So we no more actually use the SSH keys things. But yeah, I mean, that is also good to know about the SSH key. Also, it is good to know like how that is also done. Okay, this is a lengthy process. This personal access token is more easier, and then opening a browser and then opening a GitHub browser and doing a sign in is very easy. That is the most is the easiest thing, right? So let's see do this thing, creating a new GitHub repository and pushing the code first time from local to this newly created GitHub repository. So I already have this, this is my account, basically Simran BZQA1. And then these are my repositories. These are 5 repositories that are there. I want to create a new repository. Better I go to my repositories, and here you can see this new. Okay, so I will go to this new repository. So I'll just give it like dummy repo just one. If you want to put some description, you can put this. This is for the purpose of done. I'm just keeping it public as of now because it will be easier to access this. If it is private, then I will not be able to different people will not be able to use it. Right now, I'm keeping it public. Public or private doesn't matter for me. If I am the only person, then I will be able to do with the public and private. It will actually very much work like same. In case if it is private, then if somebody else want to access this private repository, they will not be able to. Or if you want to collaborate something in the private repository, they will not be able to until unless they get added by me or the owner or the admin who has created the repo. Okay, so they need to be added as a collaborator in a private repository. So that is a different thing. But as a public, anyone without any permission can access the repository and clone the repository and even push their own code also into that in the repository. Okay. So I don't want to add all these things. You just create a repository directly, a blank or empty repository on the online front. And then locally, maybe I will be creating some project on my own. Okay. And then I want to push that maybe first time in this blank repository. Now you see, it will give you some, handy, command. Not everything is required, but yeah, if you just remember this git init. Okay. In the initial part, we have to do this git init and this git remote add origin, this one. So this is kind of a thing that will be pointing to this, basically this URL, this complete URL. So if you see, this is very much similar to this HTTPS. This complete thing is very much similar to this thing only, right? Only thing is .git is there. Okay, .git is there at the end. Basically, if you remember, while cloning the existing repository, we were able to get the complete path of that repository. So the same thing is there. Now this newly created repository is having this complete path, and we have to actually, when we are we are pushing some. Right now we are not talking about this BCQ test. If possible, what we can do is maybe I can just take some part of it, or maybe what I can do is so I can think like maybe just imagine like I'm creating I created a different project in my local. First time only on my local only I created from scratch. I'm creating a new this is my new project. Okay, and just imagine like I have put all these. I created all these files in my ID, in Eclipse ID, or maybe IntelliJ ID. And you see like there is no .git. Okay, I didn't purposefully I didn't copy this .git because I will let you know like why here it will be a different thing, because this is a different scenario that we are trying to do here. So that time we got the .git folder, .git hidden file, because we were cloning the existing thing only from the Git itself. So it was automatically was having, and that was the also reason that in our commands, whatever commands we have used here, we didn't use this command, guys, git remote add origin. This we never used. Okay, and this was very much because of this .git only, guys. Okay, this .git was very much tracks everything. It kinds of, you can think about it like a memory, kind of memory of this project folder actually. So because automatically we did the existing git repository, we cloned here, so this .git came handy here automatically, and it actually tracked the path of the folder, like from where you have cloned it. Actually it kept the memory of that, so we don't have to we never have to use this git remote add origin in there. Okay, but in case we are creating a completely new project in our local system only, it started from a local system only from scratch, and globally GitHub doesn't know about it, and we will be first time pushing it to the new repository. Then you have to take care of some of the things, and that is what this where this git init and this git remote add origin comes into picture, guys. So these are like, you can think of like these are two separate steps, or two different steps, or two additional steps apart from that what we have covered in the previous part while creating the while creating, while committing the code and pushing the code basically. Okay, so let me just close it. And if I go here, now the thing is, sorry. So now the thing is, this is what I want to push now to this newly created, um, newly created repository. Okay. So first of all, I need to create that .git folder, guys. Okay, the .git folder is very important. It is a kind of memory. Basically, it tracks the things what has happened. For example, in between, you can leave. Maybe you can you are doing some writing some multiple commands, and you at some point you will get stuck. So what will happen is your git that hidden folder will be able to keep track of the last command that you have run successfully, guys. Okay. So for example, you are doing a lot of things, and then at some point you got stuck, and then you said like, okay, let me do it tomorrow. Then maybe today it's getting late. So what will happen is next day when you come, you will be starting from the same position only. For example, you have committed something, or you were not able to push something. So you will not be committing things again and again, guys. Okay, you will be pushing the thing that is the next command that you were trying to do yesterday, and you were not able to do. So you stopped the things there only. Okay, so that's why this git. Yeah. So now you see .git is created. Now we very much like the similar project, but one more difference is there. We are very much like at a similar position only, but there is one more difference. We also need to give the path of the place where the repository is there, where we'll be pushing pushing the code into the repository. That location is very much important. So this also need to be done, so that once it is done, then we'll be at the same position how this the previous scenario was basically. Okay, the previous scenario didn't require this get in it, and the other one, but we need to here it will be required. Now it is fine. Okay, now it is fine to work. And maybe I don't want to push it into the master. Maybe I want to again do the same thing. I want to create a branch, my branch. Okay, and what about the object name? Sorry. Okay, there's some problem here. Okay, we need to have okay, first time the master itself is not defined actually. In this case, master itself is not defined. So first of all, the master branch has to be created. Right now there is no branches, guys. Okay, if you see here, this is complete empty thing. So even before creating some branch, because every time what will happen is your branch or your feature branch or your kind of global branch could be like will be coming from the master branch only. It should be originating from the master branch. You have to take the master branch first. You have to clone it, and then only you can create a new branch from it. Okay, it is kind of hierarchy. You can think like that. Master will be always on the top of that, or kind of a root of all the branches. There are 5 people working, so those 5 people are creating their own branches that should be merged into the master back. Master will always act like a root. Right now there is no master. It is saying that not a valid object name master. There's no master itself actually. So first of all, we better add the things in the master, and then again we will be able to come back to the same scenario. We can come back to the same scenario where it will become the same thing. Like we'll be able to clone the master, and then we'll be able to create our branch. Okay, so this one is not a correct thing actually. There's a mistake there. I will just do this, things on the master now. So everything is a new thing only here. If you see something in the red here, that means these are untracked. These are untracked files. Right now, there is nothing to compare. Actually, this is completely blank. If this blank is compared to these things, so all the things are new only, right? Now I will try to do git add all. To the remote, I'll be able to add these files. Now these all files are new file only. Nothing is deleted or modified. Now I want to do the commit. First time committing the test framework. And the last thing is I want to push it. Now right now I'm pushing it master because master has not been created right now. So better create the master first, and then only we should be able to create the branches from there, guys. Okay, git push minus your origin master. Now it should not be able to it should not be prompting us actually. Yeah, it is. It started writing the objects, guys, online. So now it's like actually pushing the code into the global repository. Now it is able to create this master to master, actually master, the remote master to the global master, which is this online master basically. So if I refresh this, now you can see guys, it is able to, it is say like 38 seconds ago only, somebody has created, done this. Yeah, first time committing the test framework. This is the commit message that we have put, and this message should be very relevant and appropriate so that anyone will be able to understand. Like you see, like everywhere this message is there. Whichever files has been added newly will be or modified or deleted, or not deleted basically, but modified or updated or newly or created newly will be having this message. So for example, if next time somebody doesn't change this target, but this one is changed, then your new message, commit message will be coming to picture, and your this timing also will be latest timing that it will be showing like some time back only somebody done this. So now it is coming to the master directly. Okay, and it is right now it is saying one branch only. That means there is only master branch. Now we have come to the back to that same scenario where what we can do is we can just clone this back. Okay, we can do the cloning also. We can even download the zip file also. That also is very possible. And the thing is, because I already have this code in my local also, because for the first scenario maybe I was not having the master branch in my local, but right now because I have just pushed from my local system only, I push this master branch. So what I can do is, if maybe for example somebody else also is working and he is or she has changed the master lately, after my changes there has been some new changes coming to master from somebody else's master, so from somewhere else, someone else's branch, basically their own feature branch basically. So if they have changed, the thing is my local and the master branch is now different. So I have to do something else. I have to do a, basically I have to do git pull. So git pull is something which is very helpful, or even we have something called as git update. So right now I'm not doing it because we don't have any changes in the globally we don't have any changes. But you can try this guys on your own. If 2 3 people are working in a team, then yeah, that will be very easy to able to work on this. Git pull and git update will be able to, what they will do is they will actually able to match the master with the local branch, local project that you are having right now, and it will be able to update what somebody else would have done some changes in the master branch. Then those changes will be also coming into picture. It is very important before starting a new work, your local branch, your local code basically should be updated with the current master branch. Okay, it doesn't matter like why, maybe while your working is in progress, somebody changes the master branch, that is fine, that is a different thing. But before starting the before starting the new work in the new sprint, you have to actually make sure like you do a git pull or git update to be able to update this code, uh, matching with the master branch, with the current master branch code. Okay, so this was the session on the GitHub account of the project, basically the project repository, how in different ways you can clone. In one way you can clone the existing GitHub, in one you can create the GitHub repository. Mostly in a project the GitHub repository will be already created. You only have to, maybe you always will be falling in this category where you will be, or in this scenario situation where you'll be cloning the existing GitHub, and then later if you have the code with yourself, in the future you don't have to clone every time. You second time or next time you can just do a git pull or git update on that. Okay, so thanks for listening, tuning in, and that was all. Thank you guys.